Good morning, everybody. It's Joshua. I've made like 2 videos this morning already. The sun's not even coming up yet, but this will be the third, but it'll probably upload first. I made a video about democracy, and then I made another one explaining some points about democracy and why it's failing. But this first one, I would like to say that the idea of a democracy is majority rule. And 51% of a group believes something, that it should be put into play, and that the other 49% suffer because of it. Without question about the nature or value of that particular law or action. So if people are misinformed and they're voting incorrectly because of it, then majority will rule improperly. Okay? And the one thing that really got me was this idea that we talk about the greater good, and this is something I've been delving deeply into lately with listening to these lectures, and what is the greater good, and how that's really based upon an individual subjective experience. Okay? We all look at the world subjectively. The situations that we encounter determine who we are and how we're going to act or respond in a certain situation. Majority rule doesn't always work, is what I'm saying. And the greater good is very subjective to the person. What is good? Okay? The greater good for a Christian group will be completely different from the greater good from a Jewish group. The greater good from a trucker's point of view will be totally different from a CEO's point of view. Now, I guess this is not really a subject that I can really say much about, but that's only because it's been processed by so many people for centuries, and they haven't come to a conclusion about whether greater good really is the good. And some people like to be cut and dry about things. So a good example is, if you could kill one person to save 10, would you do it? And a lot of people say instantly, they say absolutely. It's a greater good. And then a lot of people say instantly no. No person should ever take another's life. I had a discussion with one person a while back, and I said, well, if my family was being threatened and a man was holding a knife to my kids' throats or my wife's throat and I had a chance to kill him, shouldn't I do that? And he said, no, that's God's choice. Okay, now this is why I'm opposed to religion so vehemently. It's because these are the types of dogmas that we attach to it. Oh, that's God's will. Really? But I thought it was my will. What about free will? Where does free will tie into God's will? If that's my free will to make a choice, am I making the right choice or the wrong choice to kill that person? And there are a million other examples like that, and not one of them really has a good answer. And I think that some of the best examples like that are the ones that people need to start looking into. Look at examples of philosophical dilemma. Just Google philosophical dilemma. I'm sure you'll come up with a ton of things. And then you could really look at it from a different standpoint. Maybe a point of view that you've held your entire life that is wrong because it's based on the wrong information. Or it's wrong because it's based on your personal subjective experience. None of us have a right to tell each other what is right or wrong. Society as a whole, in thousands of years, still hasn't been able to figure out a form of government that works. So how can we be able to determine what the greater good is? And this has been a consistent battle in philosophy, and I'm going to keep thinking about it, and maybe one day when I'm old, I'll be able to sit down and really have an opinion on the greater good. But right now, I don't want to jump the gun and say that this is what's right and wrong, because that's wrong. It takes thinking. And each one of us is subjected to different things every day. And we determine the way we behave on those things. For example, if you encounter someone that you haven't seen in a while, and you remember them being a certain way, you're going to act accordingly. You don't want to rub them the wrong way or say something about this or that. We have preconceived notions about how to behave around people, and we carry that into our daily life. And the whole idea of greater good, to me, is what a democratic society is based on. It's the greater good for the most people. But it doesn't work, because there's no cut and dry answer as to what is the greater good. If anyone could prove me wrong, please do, because I'd love to know what the greater good really is without attaching any dogmas to it. And I'm talking about this from a human perspective, as the way we live our lives, and to try to behave in a way that's beneficial to all, but to remember that some will always suffer because of it. The idea is to have the greater good working, and those who suffer are suffering because of their own lack of interest in moving forward with the group. In other words, the greater good should always be towards the greater good for everyone, but we can't determine what that good is. So, namaste, everybody. Hope you're doing well.